Hi, second graders. Today we're going to do some inferencing with Mr. Potter and Tabby hit the slope. So here we see Mr. Potter and Tabby, and what do we see them doing? I wonder what hit the slope means. I bet we'll find out in our book. Let's look at the chapter titles. Readers can use information in the text and in the pictures to make predictions about what's going to happen in the story and then confirm whether or not these are correct. Chapter 1 is slow. Chapter 2 is the best fun. Chapter 3 is the slope. He thought and thought, what is fun in the winter? Why is this in italics? It's because he's thinking something. Then he remembered. So why was this chapter titled Slow? I think I know why. I think it's because things are slow in the winter. Now I'd like you to pause your video and write down on your seesaw slide what you think chapter 2 is, called The Best Fun. What do you think happens in this chapter? All right, let's read chapter 2, The Best Fun, to see if you were correct. When Mr. Potter was a boy, he had a red sled with silver runners, and that was the best fun in all of the winter. Oh, so this is him when he was a little boy. He would go to the top of the highest hill, and he would shout, "Cowabunga!" and down the hill he would fly. He was a very good sledder. He gave other people rides. Winter was not slow in those days. Mr. Potter thought, why should winter be slow in these days? Remember, he's thinking, that's why it's in italics. He called Mrs. Teaberry. All right, so was your prediction correct? Go back and look, and then write down what the chapter was really about. All right, chapter 3, I'm going to need you to do the same thing as we did in chapter 2. What do you think the slope is about? Hit pause and write it in your seesaw assignment. Okay, welcome back. Let's find out if your prediction was correct. Of course Mrs. Teaberry had sleds. Mrs. Teaberry had everything. She lived next door with her good dog Zeke, and they were always prepared. One look in the garage said so. Mr. Potter called Mrs. Teaberry, and the next thing he knew, he was on the slope in his mittens. He was on a slope in his mittens. He had a lot more than just mittens on. Tabby was wearing a sweater Mrs. Teaberry had knitted her for Christmas. It was a little itchy, which made Tabby a little twitchy. Her tail was very twitchy, but she was warm. Mrs. Teaberry and Zeke were dressed for the Alps. Mr. Potter looked at them and said, "You are dressed for the Alps." Mrs. Teaberry was very adventurous. Mr. Potter liked that about her. His adventures mostly came on a porch with a book. That is, until Mrs. Teaberry. Mr. Potter looked down the slope. He was ready. I wonder if your prediction was correct. This is the end of chapter 3. What was the slope? Were you correct? Pause and write down what happened in the chapter and if your prediction was correct. Chapter 4, like a rocket. Ooh-wee, that's a simile. I wonder what like a rocket could mean. Pause and write it down. What do you think it's going to mean? Here we go. Let's find out. Mr. Potter wanted Tabby to take the sled with him. Tabby was not so sure. Her tail was very, very twitchy. Mr. Potter tried to put her on the sled. He thought she would like it. Tabby was not liking it. Then Zeke jumped on the sled with Tabby, and that was that. The next thing Mr. Potter knew, he had no sled, no cat, and no fun. Fun was already halfway down the slope. "Hop on!" shouted Mrs. Teaberry. Mr. Potter did not want to hop on. He wanted his own sled. But he hopped on anyways. "Cowabunga!" shouted Mrs. Teaberry. Mr. Potter and Mrs. Teaberry flew down the slope like a rocket. There's your simile, like a rocket. They're going down as fast as a rocket. They caught up with the other sled. Mr. Potter and Mrs. Teaberry looked over at Tabby and Zeke. Tabby and Zeke looked over at Mr. Putter and Mrs. Teaberry. "Good dog, Zeke," called Mrs. Teaberry. Zeke wagged. He was happy. Tabby twitched. She was not. Mr. Putter just held on. All right, so what was the chapter really about, and were you correct? Write it in your seesaw assignment. And chapter 6, Muffins and Cream. What could this chapter be about? Make a prediction. All right, let's find out. Everyone came to a stop at the bottom of the slope. Tabby jumped off the sled and went up a tree. She would not come down until Mr. Putter promised her muffins and cream. Then she came down. When Mr. Putter and Tabby went home, they took off their wet clothes. They had a warm bath. They had muffins and cream. A day on the slope had worn them out. So they curled up together in Mr. Putter's chair. They closed their eyes, and no one twitched. End of story. So was your prediction correct in Muffins and Cream? Write down what it was really about. Excellent job, readers.